Syrian Arab Army units kill and wound dozens of terrorists in Aleppo, Dar'a and al-Qunaitira and regain full control in Meida'a town in eastern Ghouta. Al-Ja'fari stresses that Syria supports any sincere effort to put an end to criminal acts in Syria, calling for holding those countries who support terrorism accountable. Britain, Germany and the US step up security measures against potential terrorist threats. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our news for today. On the ground in Deir Zor, Syrian TV correspondent quoted a military source as saying that a unit of the Syrian Arab Army shut down a surveillance plane in the graveyard area. Syrian TV correspondent added that the Syrian Arab Army unit destroyed a bobby car of the Hammer driven by a suicide bomber from the terrorist organization of Daesh, who was heading to a military point in Hawajat Saqr. Other Syrian Arab Army units clashed with terrorists from Daesh in the neighborhoods of As-Sina'a, Al-Hawaiqa and Al-Rushdiya, killing many of them and injuring others. In Aleppo and its countryside, Syrian Arab Army units killed many terrorists and injured others in Ain al-Bayda, al-Mreiiyeh, Ard al-Mallah, Kafrkar, Hanano, and to the west of Al-Nairab and Salah ad-Din. Other Syrian Arab Army units killed many terrorists in Al-Mansura and destroyed a number of vehicles, killing all terrorists inside in the old city, Al-Kallase, Al-Ashrafiyeh, Al-Castello, and the Ba'idin roundabout. In Dar'a countryside, Syrian Arab Army units foiled 2 infiltration attempts by terrorists who tried to sneak into the towns of Atman and At-Tiba, killing many terrorists and injuring others. In Al-Qunaitira, Syrian Arab Army units eliminated many terrorists at Dar al-Ilm and destroyed many vehicles, killing all terrorists inside. In Al-Shuli roundabout, Aqraba, Al-Hamidiyya, Al-Qahtaniya, Jbat al-Khashab, Suwaise and Al-Briqa. In eastern Ghouta in Damascus countryside, Syrian Arab Army units have recaptured Hawsh al-Fara after killing and wounding a number of terrorists, including Jordanian and Palestinian mercenaries, as well as members of the so-called Islam Army and Jabhat al-Nusra. Large quantities of weapons and ammunition were destroyed in a series of operations in eastern Ghouta and Al-Qalamon priories in Damascus suburbs. Syrian Arab Army units also maintained control on Meida'a village and advanced successfully into the factories district in Tel Kurdi in eastern Ghouta, eliminating a number of terrorists and tightening the siege on the city of Douma. In new evidence to Turkey's involvement in supporting ISIS, particularly in the Syrian Ain al-Arab city, videos have been released by a Dajla news agency cameraman of Turkish soldiers talking to ISIS terrorists in the border town of Srouj opposite Ain al-Arab. The report, which was transmitted by the Turkish IMC channel, included the following.
On the 22nd of this month, videos have been released at Mshattet al-Nur Hill near the Syrian Ain al-Arab of 2 ISIS terrorists crossing the Syrian borders in the direction of Turkey. A Turkish armored vehicle stops near a cabin on the borders. A Turkish soldier gets out, followed by 6 others. They start speaking to 2 terrorists. After a while, a Turkish soldier appears in the video saying to the terrorists, "Go, go." The 2 ISIS soldiers start turning back after shouting Allahu Akbar and saying something to the Turkish soldiers who start to leave. The 2 ISIS terrorists who have appeared on the borders with the Turkish soldiers now appear in Ain al-Arab, heading in their car towards Turkey, then burning down some of the commodities left behind by the people of Ain al-Arab and carrying the rest, which it seems they need, to their car. They later head towards Saftak village attached to Ain al-Arab to meet the Turkish soldiers.
Syria's permanent representative to the UN, Bashar al-Jafari, in his address to UN Security Council, stressed that the bad impact of the Takfiri thinking and the ensuing terrorist crimes have taken a severe toll on women in Syria. Al-Jafari cited rape, sexual abuse, abduction, trafficking and murder, among other various atrocities that have been committed by armed terrorist groups against women in Syria. He criticized the West's obsession with baseless accusations against Syria, fabricating lies against its government with the aim of undermining the Syrian state and destroying it. Welcome back. As part of its effort to combat terrorism, the Lebanese army continues to restore stability and order to Sidon and Tripoli. The army conducted patrols to survey the area of Shashabil bin Hasna near Sidon, expanding its operations in Syrup town in search of wanted terrorists who fled Tripoli. The army also conducted reconnaissance flights over Akkar and arrested 33 gunmen in al-Mreiiyeh area. Iraqi army eliminated 37 ISIL terrorists, including Arab suicide bombers. The army also dismantled 16 explosive devices and confiscated huge amounts of weapons and ammunition. Units of the Iraqi army advanced northeast of Baqouba in cooperation with local defense units in al-Mreiiyeh and al-Fallujah. The army discovered 41 bodies, which are likely for ISIL fighters, killed during the battles in Jurb al-Sakhr in Babel. Fearing the terrorist threats in the U.S., Secretary of Homeland Jay Johnson called to tighten security measures in more than 9,500 federal buildings and governmental institutions. Johnson said that the new security measures are preemptive to protect from the repeated calls by terrorist organizations against the U.S. and other countries. The White House announced that it has taken certain measures during the past few hours to face a suspected activity on its own computer. In fear of terrorist attacks, the UK authorities also deployed forces around the famous sites of tourism in the capital London, as Britons are afraid of attacks, criminal acts committed by elements from terrorist organization of Daesh who are returning from Syria and Iraq. For his part, German Interior Minister Thomas de Maizière warned against religious extremism, saying that it poses a serious security threat in Germany, pointing out that there are increasing number of terrorists who are able to carry out attacks in the country. The German authorities in Berlin reiterated that in addition to the threat posed by the German terrorists who are returning from Syria, there is the risk of clashes erupting between the extremist groups in the German streets. In a special session to be held tomorrow at the request of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, the UN Security Council is due to discuss the increasing threat posed by the Israeli settlements construction activity and the recurrent Zionist aggressions and desecration of sanctities, particularly in the Holy Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Palestinians urge for an immediate intervention by the international community in order to stop the policy of annexing Palestinian lands, particularly in occupied Jerusalem, and curb the Israeli authorities' increasing attempts to change the landmarks of the Holy City and impose demographic fait accompli on it. It is to be noted that the Zionist authorities have recently decided to establish thousands of settlements in occupied Jerusalem to force its Arab inhabitants out and render them homeless. Back to our local news. After a series of successes by the Syrian Olympiad teams in international competitions, preparations are underway to choose a new team which will represent Syria at the international level. 42,000 young men and women took part in the first phase, which is a considerable increase than last year, who competed in different scientific areas which included chemistry, mathematics, physics and natural sciences. The 5 top students will be chosen to form a team representing one governorate. The final team will represent all the major governorates in the country. Finally, a youth initiative under the title Aleppo from Destruction to Victory opened at the Arabic Cultural Center in Damascus, during which an exhibition is held on the historical heritage of Aleppo. expressing the great determination of Aleppo residents to protect the civilizational legacy of their ancient city in the face of terrorism. A documentary film was presented to glorify the great sacrifices of the Syrian Arab Army in defense of the homeland. With this, we conclude our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Vani Gunjan, but after a short break. Gentlemen, and welcome to our news for today. On the ground in Deir ez-Zor, Syrian TV correspondent quoted a military source as saying that a unit of the Syrian Arab Army shut down a surveillance plane in the graveyard area. Syrian TV correspondent added, "For terrorism accountable." Britain, Germany and the US step up security measures against potential terrorist threats. Good afternoon, ladies and Syrian Arab Army units kill and wound dozens of terrorists in Aleppo, Dar'a and al-Quneitira and regain full control in Meida'a town in eastern Ghouta. Al-Ja'fari stresses that Syria supports any sincere effort to put an end to criminal acts in Syria, calling for holding those countries who support